How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. Delighted to have you with me. The phone number, if you want to be on the program, 877-973-7425. We've got to begin in the Bronx. It's actually kind of a big story, but to get there, I want to set the scene. There are an extraordinary number of non-white voters, particularly men under the age of 50, who are drifting towards Donald Trump. These voters they're voting more often for the GOP now, but they're in particular more Donald Trump voters than GOP voters. They like Trump. They don't necessarily like the GOP, even as they have begun to be more open to voting for the Republicans. It's just an intriguing data point. And as a result, the Biden team is nervous. The Biden team sees the polling. They know they have a problem, which is why Joe Biden decided to go to Morehouse College and speak to the graduates at Morehouse. And I want to remind you of some of what he said. It was not the optimistic, shining city on the hill message. It was more specifically a message of despair and you poor people and America sucks for you.
You missed your high school graduation. You started college just as George Floyd was murdered. And there was a reckoning on race. It's natural to wonder if democracy you hear about actually works for you. What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy? The trail of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot. And most of all, what does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure?
Really cheery, optimistic message. Now, let's contrast that with the former president of the United States speaking to a very, very diverse crowd in the Bronx.
Look, we had the greatest economy in history. Everybody here, where you have a small business or if you had a job, you were getting more than you ever made. And we had no inflation. We had no 1.4%, considered better than none, because frankly, none in its own way is a bad thing also. We had a perfect number, 1.4%. It doesn't matter whether you're black or brown or white or whatever the hell color you are, it doesn't matter. We are all Americans, and we're going to pull together as Americans.
Crowd goes wild, but wait, also this coverage from CBS News.
What else really stood out to you about the rally?
I will say this rally did look a lot like America. There was a lot of Asian voters there. There were a lot of Hispanic voters, a lot of black voters there, which is not typical for a Trump rally that I go to when I'm in Wisconsin or Michigan. Yeah. So that's what was fascinating.
But it is a cross-section of New York.
Exactly, exactly. And that's specifically why Trump was there yesterday. Those are key demographics that he sees are starting to break for him just a little bit. That door is opening for Hispanic voters to start voting for Trump in record numbers. They want to capitalize on that in this election. They think if they do, it'll spell success for them.
They're not wrong, by the way. They're not wrong. Here's from Michael Singleton. He was talking to Anderson Cooper last night on CNN about this rally.
And if you could somewhat put the state in play a little bit by making your opponent have to spend more, do more in terms of resources to shore up that base, that key constituency, then I think strategically that's very sound. I mean, look, I've been involved in Republican politics, Anderson, for a very long time, going all the way back to teenage Republicans, to being the president of my college Republican chapter, to going fast forward to 2012 after working with Mitt Romney. We lost that race, and the RNC at the time published the Growth and Opportunity Project. I remember my dear friend Elise Stefanik, now Congresswoman, reached out and said, hey, I'd love to get your assessment on strategy in terms of what the party should do in regards to outreach. The party wasn't successful, Anderson, and fast forward, out of all people, Donald Trump appears, at least, to be attempting to make some efforts, and I wouldn't ignore these things. I don't think anyone should be so presumptive to just assume that people, regardless of their race, will vote one way or the other.
Yes, you shouldn't. And the Democrats have gone into ideology and skin color politics for so long. They're missing a big issue here that's starting only now to dawn on the Biden administration. You got problems here. This is a little more from the coverage at CNN, where they suddenly realized, well, this actually crowd looks like the people of the Bronx.
Particularly given this is one of the bluest counties in the entire country. Now, one of the things that was interesting to me is that the Trump campaign said that they were going to micro-target to get people from the community to come to this rally. I wasn't sure what to expect. I've gone to a lot of these rallies across the country, and there are often people who travel hundreds of miles to see Donald Trump, and they're not necessarily part of the community. However, one of the things that I found was that there were a lot of people here that were actually from the Bronx. Before we even came into the rally, so that, of course, once we were in, it was all people supporting him. But before we actually even came in, we talked to a number of people outside in the community, and the reaction to him being here was really mixed. You had people saying he doesn't belong here, he should get out, but you also had a number of people, voters, who told me that they had supported Biden in 2020. They were very unhappy, particularly with the state of the economy, and they were looking for alternatives, namely former President Donald Trump. Anderson.
Looking for an alternative because they're unhappy with the economy. Fox News went out onto the street to interview some of the people who were there to go to the rally.
I see Democrats now coming out, and they're like, oh, Trump is not welcome here. Who are you?
I think he should definitely come to the neighborhood.
He should come. He should check out the people, because, see, Trump is for the little man.
Not all Democrats vote Democrat. I happen to be one of those Democrats that hasn't voted Democrat since the age of Ronald Reagan.
People that weren't interested in politics, now they're watching a sham trial. They're watching all these things happen, and they're just like, what is going on?
You think? This is actually problematic for Democrats, because what people miss is they say, well, New York's never going to vote for Donald Trump. They're right. They're right. The state of New York is going to be reliably Democrat again. But Donald Trump only needs a few percentage points in the shift. He only needs a few percentage points. It's going to be a close race nationally. Democrats are worried Trump could win the popular vote. Remember, there's been this effort among progressive states in the last decade to do an interstate compact. They've become so convinced that Democrats will never lose the popular vote again. What they've decided to do is bind their state to the popular vote. So, for example, if Donald Trump wins a state like Wisconsin's a bad example. I should go with Michigan because the Democrats there are trying it. So Donald Trump wins the state of Michigan, but nationally Joe Biden wins the popular vote. What Michigan's law would do is say our electoral college has to go with the national popular vote, not with what our citizens chose. It completely disrespects the citizens of that state in order to adhere to Democratic orthodoxy and go with the popular vote nationwide, something the founders didn't want. The problem here, what Democrats are realizing is if Donald Trump shifts only a few percentage points among Hispanics and a few percentage points among black voters, he can win the electoral college and the popular vote. And they're having a real panic about that. I mean, this is some of Donald Trump's message in the Bronx last night.
African Americans are getting slaughtered. Hispanic Americans are getting slaughtered. And these millions and millions of people that are coming into our country the biggest impact and the biggest negative impact is against our black population and our Hispanic population, who are losing their jobs, losing their housing, losing everything they can lose.
A message that Joe Biden can't compete with, and one the polling suggests is resonating in the black and Hispanic communities. The most vehement opponents of illegal immigration in the United States are Hispanic voters in the country. Something Democrats have missed all along. Hispanic voters in this country are people who came here legally, and in coming here legally, they followed the rules to get here, which are cumbersome and have gotten worse over the years. And they resent like hell people essentially jumping the fence and skipping the line. They resent it because they took the time and effort to come here legally. They made a decision to become an American, not just to come here. They don't like it that it's so easy to cross the border and fill up our cities with illegal immigrants who also are competing for jobs and state resources and straining taxpayers. It's a problem. You don't believe me? Listen to this from NBC News.
It comes as a new battleground poll shows voters say they are more worried about President Biden's policy on immigration than Mr. Trump's on abortion. One silver lining for the president, those numbers actually flip when you look at third-party and undecided voters.
But third-party and undecided voters, okay, it flips. A lot of those undecided voters are young women who are going to vote Democrat anyway, if they show up at all. But among voters who are going to vote already, more voters are concerned about immigration than they are abortion. And more voters hold immigration against Joe Biden than hold abortion against Donald Trump. Big red flag there for the Democrats. The wheels are starting to come off. And then you add crime into the mix. Kathy Hochul is the governor of New York. She was on CNN to respond to the Trump rally.
Working against hate crimes and domestic violence and retail theft. I just passed an historic budget with serious laws to protect New Yorkers from retail theft, shutting down illegal cannabis shops. So this whole Republican narrative that Democrats are not, as hard as we need to be on public safety is just false, and no one should be buying it. So I reject that premise. We are out there making sure that our number one priority will continue to be public safety, job number one for all of us.
Right. Well, why do you have that guy still in jail who protected people on the subway? Nobody buys Kathy Hochul's rhetoric on crime because they're living in third world hellholes around New York where progressive prosecutors are refusing to prosecute any crime not related to Donald Trump. They'll even let Michael Cohen get away with a Class C felony just to get Donald Trump. People don't believe it. Their voters are rebelling against Democratic crime policies. Voters are rebelling in this country against progressives on immigration, on crime, on jobs, on inflation. Inflation continues to be the number one issue, and it doesn't help that so many reporters out there are running these stories. Voters falsely believe we're in a recession. I realize there's a technical definition for recession. But when your family believes they're in a recession, it's probably not best to lecture them that they're deluded liars. It doesn't go over well with voters who already look on the media as part of the elite and presume a lot of these reporters are probably wealthier than they are. But to have these reporters lecture people on the state of the economy really rubs people the wrong way. Learn the lesson of George H.W. Bush from 1992. Lecturing Americans on the economy didn't get him very far. Yet this is all Democrats have, a lecturing tone to Americans that actually your life doesn't suck, believe us, not your lived experience. For years, Democrats have elevated the lived experience of Americans, and now that lived experience is turning on the Democrats, and the Democrats are furious about it, telling you not to believe your lying eyes, believe them instead. It's not working. Donald Trump has put his finger on the pulse of a segment of society that is leaving the Democratic Party over jobs, over the economy, over illegal immigration, over crime. And the Democrats, the best they can do is lecture those people and tell them they're stupid. That's not a way to win an election in this country in the 21st century.
Blinds.com Cyber Monday Last Chance is happening now. Don't miss out on up to 45% off site-wide. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can handle everything from measure to your whole home installed for one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Save up to 45% site-wide, plus a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson, and it's an Open Line Friday. The phone number is 877-973-7425. You don't necessarily need to subscribe to the show notes today to know what I'm going to talk about, because I'll talk about what you want to talk about as long as you're like coherent and whatnot. But you can subscribe to the show notes by texting DATA to 33777. I want to begin the phone calls in Topeka, Kansas with Zach. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. What's going on?
So I've been thinking Trump's in the lead right now. Progressives are freaking out about him saying he'll be a dictator for a day. So why don't conservatives just agree that presidents wielding too much power is a problem and form a coalition to roll back the power of the executive?
Oh, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Set some precedents with the Democrats. I wish they would, honestly. I don't think either side really wants to. So what I've learned over the years in politics, and by the way, Zach, I 1,000% wish they would, because they have allowed the presidency to do way more than the founders intended, and that's an abdication of Congress's role. The problem, however, is that Congress wants someone to blame. Congress doesn't actually want to do anything. Congress wants to blame the bureaucrats, and the bureaucrats are part of the executive branch. So you've got to empower the executive branch to do as much as possible. So Congress can say, well, we don't like it, but we didn't do it. It's an absurdity in Congress. The regulators get to regulate as much as they do because Congress doesn't want to rein them in. They actually largely agree with what they're doing. And then they get to say, well, it's not us, it's the bureaucrats, and that's the presidency and the executive branch. It's not us. We can't really do anything. It's just excuse making. I'm with Zach, though. If the Democrats are really that concerned that Donald Trump is such a huge threat, they've got the numbers in the House of Representatives, along with the Thomas Masseys and the Chip Roys of the world and the Freedom Caucus, to rein in the power of the presidency. And they probably should do it, and do it now before the election, where it looks like on a bipartisan basis they're reining in Joe Biden. Send it over to the Senate. Maybe the Senate Democrats will agree to it as well. Rein in the power of the presidency. You know, the one thing they could do to really rein in the power of the presidency is actually pass a budget every year instead of just doing a continuing resolution. That sort of stuff matters too, but there's just no will. Congress would rather go out and be on Fox and MSNBC and play to the crowd and fundraise as opposed to actually doing the job we send them to Washington to do. It's one thing to send them to Washington and they do gridlock and they don't do anything. But the problem is they've just let the executive branch get out of control and they need to rein it in. 877-973-7425 is the phone number if you'd like to be on the program. Y'all, I need to tell you about Vision Computers. If you're a small business, if you're a mom and dad need your kid a computer, whatever it is, they can build you computers. And then their award-winning tech support comes with it. You can call them at 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. The difference between the one-size-fits-all at the big box store and a computer from Vision Computers is they actually build you what you need and want, not just the generic brand that fits most people. This one will actually fit you, and their customer service comes with it. But let's say you have a computer already and you didn't get it from Vision Computers, but you need tech support. They can do that for you. $179 a year per computer. Just a year, not a month, a year, $179. And you can call Vision, 15 seconds or less. You can get the answer to any question. You can get it faster than a Google search. They've got thousands of 5-star reviews. Literally, my son, who has a computer we built with Vision, can call them if he doesn't know how to do something or where a system setting is or anything like that. He can call them and they'll diagnose it. He accidentally unplugged his monitor one time and didn't realize it, and he called Vision because the monitor wasn't coming on. They told him exactly what he had done wrong, told him exactly where to fix it. It worked. I never had to be tech support. They can do this for your business, all your employees. They can do it for you. 404-COMPUTE, 404-COMPUTE, or visioncomputers.com. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. I'm so happy to have you with me. The phone number is 877-973-7425. It is an open line Friday. Got to get past the call screen. You don't just have the right to get on the program. I do have to give you one housekeeping note. Well, two, really. If you're in Atlanta, I'm with you again till 7 tonight. But Main housekeeping note. I always feel bad about taking vacation, and for years I didn't. They finally made me start taking vacation. And this year I try to spread them out, but my daughter is going to college in August. She graduated from high school, so we made sure we had our last spring break together. And the thing that she wanted for graduation, her birthday was back in August, and she said, "Don't give me a birthday present. I want a combined graduation birthday present." So I'm going to be off some next week, which kills me too because of the Trump trial. But it is my daughter's. It's our last family trip together. And she wanted to go to the Grand Canyon and shoot machine guns in Las Vegas. And what dad in America could tell their daughter no when she wants to go shoot machine guns in Las Vegas? So that'll be my until Thanksgiving. This is going to be it for a vacation until I get to Thanksgiving. But it'll be worth it. I can't believe I have a kid old enough to go to college. But that's what's between Christy's health stuff this year and she's doing fine, and birthdays and graduation and stuff. We've altered my normal flow of when I take off, but I'm excited to take them there next week. But that's where I'll be. So also, somebody over in Carrollton, tell my brother-in-law John Crawford happy birthday for me. It's his birthday today. You can tell him I talked about him on the radio. I have to move on now, but I am going to do one more housekeeping note and ask you for prayers. My son's friend Silas was in a terrible car wreck this morning. He is in ICU and could use a lot of prayer. So if you're the praying type, pray for Silas that he recovers. He's in ICU intubated right now. All right, phone calls, 877-973-7425. Dwayne has been waiting patiently. Dwayne, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for taking my call. And my thoughts are with the young man you spoke with just a second ago.
Thank you.
I hope this isn't too silly, but okay, so Biden, you mentioned earlier that Biden, of course, came to Morehouse and spoke to the students and gave kind of a horrible, speech. And I watched Fox and they played the parts and all that. I had to pick up an Atlanta paper the other day to put under my litter boxes in case you want to know why I bought it. But the headline on the Atlanta paper was Biden to students, I hear you. Okay. And so that's, just another example of the bias in the media and, how they're going to tailor it and that kind of thing. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. Listen,
the Atlanta paper anymore.
I gotta say, it's become abundantly obvious in passion. We've known this for a long time, but they've worked very hard over the years. The media has to pretend, or at least to have a veneer of nonpartisanship. Let's give you the news. Our worldview is of the left, but we're just going to give you the news. They're actively cheering for Joe Biden at this point. MSNBC is trying to get him assassinated, or get Trump assassinated. I mean, it's very clear in the coverage at MSNBC that that's part of what they're trying to do is inspire some nut to go after Donald Trump violently. The problem here with where we are as a country is the team sport that's taken over the national media. I mean, look at the coverage of Sam Alito. The people who believe that there are multiple interpretations of Palestine will be free from river to sea and that it's not just a call for genocide, believe that only insurrection is a plausible explanation for flying an upside-down American flag or an appeal to heaven flag, which, by the way, I had to order a new appeal to heaven flag. I've got one somewhere. I can't find it, but I'm gonna put it in my background. It's a great historic American flag. The Aludos flew. The outrage was the Phillies flag, by the way, not the appeal to heaven flag, but the media glossed over that. The media that tells you there are multiple interpretations for globalize the Intifada, there's only one interpretation for the Aludos flying that flag. This is the same media that tells you that Harrison Butker has denied agency to women. that all women are supposed to be agents of their husband's will, and that's deeply offensive. And then Mrs. Alito has no agency. She flew a flag upside down after a neighbor called her the C word, and that's on Sam Alito because clearly she only does what her husband wants her to do. The hypocritical double standards of the media when it comes to this team sport, and that goes to the local newspaper and the coverage of Joe Biden and Donald Trump and views of Republicans and Democrats and picking sides. You know, where I live in my state, there's actually a partisan operation led by a statewide Democrat to buy up local newspapers or provide programming alternatives to some of the local newspapers. And it's all from the left. They are convinced that they can shape the news and build an anti-Republican narrative. It's all funded by the left. And they're trying to weaponize news, and the right's not very good at it. People on the right have to go to work. They got to raise their kids. They're not childless. And they fall behind on this sort of stuff. And also right-wing donors, they want a financial return on the investment. The left are willing to write the checks to shape the country as opposed to just getting a return on investment. All right, back to the phones. Jeff, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. So glad to have you in Jacksonville, and I really appreciate the Christian message that you send out as well.
Thank you.
So thanks again. I kind of had two things. I forgot to tell your screener about the other one, but the first thing that I mentioned to him was that, I haven't really heard too many people say that the early debate. I think the early debate is really so that the Democratic Party can get an idea if Joe's able to move the needle in a positive way. And I think if he can't, I think that they go into plan B, and I know it's a little conspiracy theorist, but I think that he's going to, have that fall that might hurt the hip or something like that. And they're going to say, he's going to take care of himself and his health is more important and he's going to step aside. And they already have somebody prepped and ready to put in his space. And like I told your guy, I don't think Kamala's it. She couldn't pull her own state back when she was trying to run. So I think that they'll pay her off in some way, just like they did Bernie. Everybody has a price. She'll step aside, do book deals and speakings for ridiculous amounts of money so everybody can hear her cackle, and that'll be it. And then they're going to try and find somebody like a Michelle Obama and bring them up. And then my second thing, and I'll try to be quick, I'm sorry, is that
That's right.
the Trump trial, I think this judge is really just taking the fall, and he's letting all this go because if he gets a guilty verdict, even though we all know that it would be overturned immediately, it gives the leftist media the big Trump guilty thing that they can put up, and they'll banner that till the cows come home. And when the appeal overturns it, they will not even broadcast it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They'll have already won that part. It's like the redactions that they do at midnight on Sunday. You never know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now, Jeff, I'm gonna nuance your debate point because I agree and disagree. I don't think the Democrats put the debate early so they can, if Biden has a bad performance, shove him aside. I don't think that's why they did it. I think they did it that way so if it's a bad debate, they have a lot of time to recover from it. But I think what's going to happen is exactly what you're saying. If he has a bad performance, Democrats are going to freak out and think, I think we need to get rid of this guy. And it undermines Joe Biden. It undermines his campaign. If he has a bad debate, it's going to resurface significantly all the conversations about shoving him out the door. And I think the Democrats didn't decide to want an early debate for that reason, but that's going to be the byproduct of it. If he does have a bad debate, there's going to be a lot of argument that Biden needs to step aside and that someone needs to come. Now, where I disagree with you, Jeff, is it's going to be Kamala. In fact, I don't know if you've seen this. They're circulating joyously new polling today showing that Kamala Harris has a majority approval rating in the swing states. The issue here is that they can't, because of issues of their own making, they can't get rid of Kamala Harris. To get rid of the first black female vice president of the United States with Southeast Asian and Caribbean immigrant roots would be so destructive to the Democratic Party's non-white base that is already leaving the party. They can't get rid of Kamala Harris. She is latched to them like an albatross around their neck. Even Comedy Central now is making fun of Kamala Harris and all of her inane statements that she makes. You know, we have taken her sound bites before, and we've done the deep thoughts things with Kamala Harris. And the Daily Show has started doing this, and essentially it's an online meditation guru who also sells essential oils, who takes Kamala Harris's speeches and pulls apart each word by word, and rearranges them as the visions of the world decide they need to be arranged. It's bizarre. Kamala Harris's speeches, the things that she says, the lines that she comes up with. And when the Daily Show, loved by the left, starts making fun of Kamala Harris's speaking style, you know there's a problem. But again, they can't get rid of her because of who she is and what she represents to the party.
And now, Deep Thoughts by Kamala Harris. That was Deep Thoughts by Kamala Harris.
Still one of the best things Charlie has ever done. Y'all, speaking of Charlie, he won't let me play the Wheel of Fortune clip from last night. He told me it would be in bad form. Have y'all seen, this has gone viral now. So the winning phrase was, "This is the best." This is the best. That was the phrase. And they gave random letters. And it was enough to note that the phrase was probably, "This is the best." And the first guy who went said, "Right in the butt." Now, you must be wondering, as my wife did and as Jim, my board op, did, wait a second. Right has 5 letters and the first word had 4 letters. So why would you? I don't know, but that's what the man said live on national television instead of "This is the best." And I have died laughing about it ever since. That poor man. And poor old Pat Sajak was as diplomatic as he could be. He didn't laugh or anything. He just said no. And the women who were with this guy on the panel were all like, oh, did he just say, yes, he did, on national television. It was hilarious. Charlie didn't think it was super appropriate for radio for me to play. He's probably right, but still, nonetheless. Swiss America wants to help you protect your hard-earned assets right now. China buying up major gold reserves in the world, in addition to circling Taiwan with all their ships, in large part because China thinks that there's going to be economic calamity in this country. As much as the media tells you there's no recession here, a lot of you feel it. China thinks that our national debt is going to push us across a very deep, bad place. So Swiss America wants to help you protect your hard-earned assets right now. They've got a report, The Secret War on Cash. Your copy is free by calling or texting 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646. The Secret War on Cash includes digital forms of currency. They're coming for all of it. You need to learn how to protect it. You need to learn about the Secret War on Cash. Your copy's completely free. Just text or call my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. Just mention my name, Eric. Call or text 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, E-R-I-C-K, SwissAmerica.com/Eric, or 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan in Noonan, Georgia. They can help your business wherever you are. Sacramento, California, Kalispell, Montana, Hartford, Connecticut, wherever. They help businesses grow. If you're buying a building, building a building, buying a franchise, or you need an equipment loan for your business, They can help you. All you got to do is go to firstlibertyga.com. Tell them I sent you. Firstlibertyga.com. Firstlibertyga.com. It's an open line Friday, 877-973-7425. I've got a lot I want to talk about, however, including what's happened with the International Human Rights Court, the United Nations top court, telling Israel they can't go into Rafah, and the Biden administration realizing they've set a lot of red lines that Israel has crossed, and now they're not so sure the red lines have been crossed. Likewise, they have found more dead hostages that clearly were killed on October 7th. That Hamas took into Gaza and have just let the bodies rot. Awful, awful stuff. And have you seen the Scotty Scheffler video? That police officer's in trouble. But we'll get there. But first, let me go to Mike here. Welcome to the show, Mike. How are you?
Fine, Eric. How are you?
Great. What's going on?
So you've said everything but the answer, I think, to the whether Joe Biden will be replaced or not. So to go back to 2016, I think that Biden knew that long term he was in decline. And so he picked Kamala Harris not just because she checked the boxes, but because they would be loath to go to the 25th Amendment and throw him over for her. And I think the same thing applies now. They know that he's in decline, okay? And if you've dealt with somebody who's, losing their mental faculties, 6 months could be a disaster. So have the debate sooner. But unless he just absolutely is unable to perform, he's it. Because
look, I know a lot of people who speculate in that regard that she's the insurance policy, that nobody would want her to be the president of the United States, so they're going to rally to Biden. Look, I understand why people think that. I think Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris not as a 25th Amendment insurance policy, but because black women in South Carolina rewarded him and made him the Democratic nominee. And so he wanted to go with a black woman to thank the black women of South Carolina for saving his presidency. At the same time, the fact that no one likes Kamala Harris has come in handy, but the Democrats were never going to oust him anyway, and Republicans never had the votes to oust him anyway. So it was more of an academic discussion. At this point, though, Kamala Harris has weighed on Joe Biden because one of the great bits of data that continues to come up is that one of the biggest reasons Joe Biden is as unpopular as he is people think he's going to die if he gets a second term. Nobody likes Kamala Harris. If he replaced Harris, it would help him in the polling, except notice today they're starting to trot out polling. So, oh, surprise, Kamala Harris is actually really popular. It's only one poll that shows this, though. We can five-dimensional chess this all we want, but the reality is Biden's not going anywhere. He's going to be the Democratic nominee. It's too difficult at this moment to replace him. It would open too many wounds in the Democratic Party. He is convinced he can still beat Trump. And the New York Times today, Nate Cohen, who's a very good data analyst, is pointing out the thing that Biden hangs his hat on is he still wins with people who are most likely to vote, and he still wins with people who actually voted in 2020. Donald Trump is getting his polling support among registered voters from people who don't frequently vote. If those people show up, Trump's going to win. But they have a habit of not showing up. And that's why the Democrats think Joe Biden can still win this thing, even as they know it's a competitive race. When we come back, the pressure builds on Israel to get out of Rafah at a time they've evacuated 1 million people from Rafah, but progressives do not care and continue to spread their anti-Semitism even as more hostage bodies have been found.